Hi, and welcome to SCW live at 5 for you now. Going to be talking WrestleMania Backlash, the live Q&A for you here today. I'm joined by a very special guest. I'm going to be talking NXT TakeOver as well. Of course, In Your House has been announced. It will be coming back today on June 13th. But before we get into anything, let's go straight with the intro. Oh, hello. So we're back once again in for a live Q&A, and I'm joined by a very special guest today from Jonesy Chats Wrestling. George is in the house. George, how are you doing?
It's fantastic to be here. Thank you for having me, mate. It's so good to be back here with you doing another Q&A session. Obviously, we've been doing podcasts since 2016, so it's great to do it today with you. I'm really looking forward to this, mate.
Yeah, we've been doing this for many, many years. And of course, it's great to be doing this on YouTube and on everyone for live as well. So it's a live Q&A. So when everyone's get involved with their questions, get involved in the comment section. You'll get a shout out as well. It's WrestleMania Backlash theme. But while we're waiting for a little bit of the questions to come in, I thought we could actually just touch on some of the breaking news, George, if you don't mind. And of course, the big news that sort of come out last night from NXT was the fact that In Your House is going to make its return on June 13th. And we've got a special guest returning. Todd Pengill will be back as well. Of course, you might remember him from like 1993 sort of time. Me and you definitely watching WrestleMania 9 recently for a retro. Remember Todd very, very well. But it's great. I'm really excited that In-House is coming back for a second year. This wasn't a one-off last year. What are your thoughts about it?
I love it. I love nostalgia. It's a great decision, really. It's a really good announcement. Looking forward to seeing him. Clearly, the set and the setup's going to be great. Todd Pettigill's there, which is fantastic. He brings me great nostalgia. I remember going back to the 90s where he used to host WWF Mania on a Saturday morning here in the UK. Yeah, great to see him there. But I'm excited. This is going to be a stacked card, that's for sure.
Absolutely. If NXT do what they did last year, they completely knocked it out of the park. So I'm looking forward to seeing what they bring to the table. Do you think this will be a one-night event or a two-night event?
I think we're going to get one night. I'd be surprised if they do it over two. It just depends if they want to get that sort of USA Network coverage, if that makes sense as well. What do you think, Steve?
I would imagine it would be a one-night event. Like you say, I think before it was done for WrestleMania, it was WrestleMania weekend, and I think as well that sort of they wanted to get that last win over AEW, didn't they, before they went to Tuesday night. So I agree with you. I think it's going to go for one night, but it's looking like it's going to be stacked. And of course, NXT itself was a stacked show last night. Really enjoyed NXT, and Kushida retained the Cruiserweight Championship, of course, over Santos Escobar in the 2 out of 3 falls match. That was a lot of fun, wasn't it?
It was a fantastic match. It's great to see them sort of further carry on this epic matches they've had in this feud. But yeah, it's great to see Kushida retain. He's not had the belt long, so I was really happy with that. I thought both wrestlers, it was really exciting. The fact it was best of 3 falls, it's great to see them sort of give them that amount of time on TV.
Absolutely, yeah, absolutely. And I love the way it was sort of electric from the start as well with MSK and Legado del Fantasma building for their future tag team match. The way it was sent to the back as well was a lot of fun to see. Really sort of explosive start to that match as well. I mean, we had Raquel Gonzalez retain the championship, the NXT Women's Championship over Mercedes Martinez. I thought this was an okay match. What would you think of it?
Yeah, I thought it was solid. I thought it won a bad title defense for Raquel. I think the one-arm powerbomb was quite a nice finish. Interesting to see where they go next with Raquel. I think they've sort of made Raquel look really dominant, which is quite interesting. But I enjoyed it. It's just always kind of strange to see Mercedes playing a babyface a bit, which takes a bit of an adjustment for me based on the previous roles.
I would agree with that. I sort of have that same sort of feeling when it comes to Mercedes Martinez. Something just doesn't quite connect for me with her in general. I feel that sort of tall, menacing, dominant athlete, and she's got that kind of intimidating look. But like you say, when it's got that twist of a slight baby face, it kind of doesn't work so well for me. I have a disconnect with that character. We've got our first comment that's coming from Wrestling Network. Thank you for checking out the stream. TakeOver should be one night, and so he is agreeing with us. And as well, we've got another comment from Martin Carrillo as well. Thank you for checking out the stream. What's up, Jonesy and Steve? Good afternoon over there in the UK. Very excited for this next TakeOver, which we are as well. And thank you guys for checking out the stream. Anyone that is watching right now, throw in your questions. We're going to switch things over to WrestleMania Backlash as soon as the questions start flying in. So it can be something to do with Backlash with this year, last year, any year you want to touch on Backlash from any point. But of course, if there's match cards, anything like that, get involved. We'll give you a shout out and we'll answer your question to the best of our ability. Matt Stam 13 in house. Good evening, gents. Good evening to you, Matt Stam, as well. Hope you are keeping well. We'll just touch on one or two more things just with NXT before then we move over strictly to Backlash. As well, we know we've got next week the NXT North American Championship is now going to be in a steel cage match. Johnny Gargano and Bronson Reed. How do you see that playing out?
I think it's going to be a very good match. I like the steel cage element. It's $1 million question. Will Gargano retain? Obviously, he's done everything to kind of cheat his way to get the belt. They've done this feud a bit before, but for me, is this the time to take the belt off him? I think that's the question. I think Bronson probably has to win the belt now. I think it's time for him to finally capitalize on these recent sort of pushes he's had. What do you think?
Yeah, I agree with you. I think Johnny Gargano, of course, he's been flirting as well, being around with Karrion Kross recently as well. Karrion Kross destroying Austin Theory this week, and I really enjoyed that match. But looking how it sort of plays out going forward, you have those people in the mid-card, Bronson Reed, LA Knight, Dexter Lumis, Isaiah Swerve Scott now of his new stable. There's so many people that could benefit being in that North American Championship picture and also winning that championship. I think it's time for a change of the guard. Johnny Gargano is, he's going to put someone over big time by actually losing that championship. Hopefully, in my opinion, to Bronson Reed, but then that could really elevate that mid-card level in NXT going forward. And Gargano perhaps could then go towards Karrion Kross, of course, who will be defending his championship in 2 weeks from now. Karrion Kross will be going against Finn Balor in the rematch. Love the way they kind of did the same thing, what they did before. Of course, Finn Balor was waiting behind Karrion Kross after winning that match. I was almost going to say to myself, I'm hoping they would say, what took you so long? But they definitely bigged up the idea of that match. Finn saying he doesn't wait in line. He wants this match. Karrion Kross saying he wants it as well. Good fun stuff all around. I think this is a big money match. We're going to have 2 weeks on NXT and not on TakeOver.
Definitely. I'm really looking forward to this match. I think it'll be great to see the rematch. Love the camera angles on NXT this week. On a positive, I'm really looking forward to seeing what happens. $1 million question I've got for you, Steve, asking Q&A now. Is this time now to bring back the Demon? Do you think we should get Demon versus Karrion Kross, or do you think that should be saved for the pay-per-view if they do like a no contest in 2 weeks' time?
That'd be interesting. I think it has to be for a takeover, in my opinion. I would hate to see it come on a weekly TV show. Not that I have a problem with weekly TV giving us surprises and giving us something. I just think that would feel more special for takeover. So if it does drag over to a takeover, that would be interesting. But of course, we've got Kyle O'Reilly, we've got Pete Dunne. We mentioned Kyle O'Reilly, Bobby Fish returned this week as well. So there's lots going on in NXT. A very, very exciting show. But we'll move on from NXT because we're starting to get some comments in now. And let's talk completely about Backlash, the history of Backlash, WrestleMania Backlash. Any questions regarding this Sunday? Get involved. If there's matches you want to see added to the card, let's just put a bit of flavour all on Backlash. We'll give you a shout out as well. But we've got Matt Sam 13. It says Reed getting a good push. Well, let's hope so. It'd be good to see Bronson Reed get a good push because seeing him back in that North American Championship picture definitely would be nice to see him win the gold, as Jonesy and I said just a couple of seconds ago. Jamie Holmes is in the house. Jamie, how are you doing? He says Kyle O'Reilly turned down the reunion of him and Bobby Fish so they could focus on their singles careers. As Bobby Fish is older, do you think that he'll be used to put people over? Interesting question, that one. Jonesy, what do you think? Do you want to see Fish actually used as more an enhancement talent at this point? Or do you think this is something that maybe he could go with Oney Lorcan, Pete Dunne, and maybe they revisit something with him and Kyle O'Reilly further down the line?
I think it's a great question. Thanks for the question. I think what they need to do, clearly from NXT this past week, Kyle O'Reilly is the one that's sort of in demand. Bobby Fish needs Kyle O'Reilly more than Kyle O'Reilly needs Bobby Fish. And I think the thing with it, for me, I would hope that this is Bobby Fish one and done, really. We need Kyle O'Reilly to go back to that singles push that he's been on. He's done some fantastic work. That match with Adam Cole previously was fantastic. So for me, I'm hoping this will be kind of quick and done, really.
Yeah, fingers crossed. I mean, they more or less said on this episode that they weren't going to be together going forward. That it's only as a common goal here. And I wonder if Fish is going to go for Dunn and Orkin. But I wonder as well if that could lead to a tag team one-off. Maybe at some point Bobby Fish may turn on Kyle O'Reilly. I wouldn't be surprised if that happens. But like you say that, I do think that Bobby Fish should perhaps be putting people over, in my opinion, because there's a young roster there. And if Bobby Fish isn't going to be part of the UE anymore, which of course they've disbanded, I think perhaps that's probably the best thing for all parties involved. But Martin Carella's got 2 comments in. I'll take this one first. It says, now Bobby Fish and Kyle O'Reilly have mutual respect. What will happen? Bobby Fish and Adam Cole meet face to face. Of course, that's a money question there for you. Is Bobby Fish remaining babyface, or does he align with Adam Cole further on and they go heel, or is it going to be all against all? How is it going to lead to?
I think Bobby Fish is probably far better as a heel. I think he's much more comfortable as a heel. The babyface thing for me probably isn't that great, but it'll be a great sort of meeting, but they've got to delay that for a while. But the one that's coming out of this is Adam Cole. Adam Cole's going to get the momentum either way, even with the mind games.
Yeah, I do agree with that indeed. Absolutely. Martin Carrera then with another comment in for us here now. It says, ever since Backlash came in 2016, which has been your favourite from the 10s? His has been 2016. SmackDown made a good pay-per-view with it. Well, if you enjoyed the 2016 one, let me just give a cheap plug, if you will. SCW will be doing our first SCW Rewind live on the weekend. I'll be joined by Rated R for Wrestling and Non-Stop Wrestling Chat. We're going to actually reviewing 2016's Backlash. So come and join the conversation with us on Saturday. Should be a lot of fun looking back at that pay-per-view. And I would say at the moment that would be my one as well, just purely because for me, that was the return of Backlash after many years away. There was a big hype for that pay-per-view as well. So yeah, I think in the 10s, that has to be the one for me. Jonesy, how about you?
My favourite is probably Backlash 2018. What a stat card that was. We had Roman Reigns, Samoa Joe, AJ Styles, Nakamura. We got Braun Strowman, Lashley facing Kevin Owens, Sami Zayn. Just some of the matches here. We've also got sort of people such as Carmella and Charlotte Flair. I think it was just a stat card, and I think seeing Roman Reigns and Samoa Joe face, that was almost like a dream match for me, looking back at it.
Yeah, absolutely. No, that was a stat card. I really enjoyed the Seth Rollins versus Miz match on that particular card. I thought that was outstanding. Probably arguably one of the best matches in Miz's career. Rating R for Wrestling is in the chat room. He says, cheap plug. Yep, I'm just like Mick Foley from time to time, but I hope you're doing well, buddy. And he says it's going to be a good one. He's excited for it, as am I. I'm really looking forward to doing that one on Saturday. Matt Sam 13 says that Undertaker versus Batista Backlash 2007 takes some beating as the best match. Well, I tell you what, funny enough, you mentioned the 2007 and Rated R for Wrestling is in there, and I've been doing cheap plugs. Let's do another one on his channel. Just this past Saturday, myself, Jonesy, and Non-Stop Wrestling Chat were on Rated R's channel, and we were reviewing Backlash 2007. And I have to agree, that was an outstanding contest. I really enjoyed that match, that last man standing match. Honestly, I thought it was amazing the first time I watched it, and to go and relive that match again was really special. Jonesy, how did you feel watching that match?
I absolutely loved it. It's an iconic match coming off their WrestleMania match. I think the finish is just so clever with the pyro and everything moving. It's just pure chaos. I really kind of enjoy it. And it makes you really question, oh my God, what just happened? Which is what I love in wrestling, definitely.
Absolutely. If you're going to do a big spot like that to finish off a match, you should do it like that. It's really exciting to see. And I almost don't mind that sort of like that false finish if you're going to do that for a match, because if it's going to be big and explosive like that, it's certainly more exciting than getting some sort of lame finish where, you know, I don't know, just simple move where none of them wait for the 10 count. You know, doing that, it was big, it was bold. I was all for it. But let's talk about Backlash this Sunday, shall we? Because we've got quite a stacked match card for this Sunday. We've, of course, got the what could be one of two main events. We've got Roman Reigns against Cesaro. That will be for the Universal Championship. We've got the WWE Championship, which is on the line as well, in the triple threat match. Bobby Lashley will be defending against Drew McIntyre and Braun Strowman. We've got also for the Raw Women's Championship, that will also be a triple threat match. That'll be Rhea Ripley, Asuka, and Charlotte Flair. We've got, of course, the SmackDown Women's Championship. We've got Bianca Belair defending against Bayley. As well as that, also, we've got a couple of other matches on the card. The SmackDown Tag Team Championships. The Mysterios will try and win there as a father and son duo for the first time in WWE. Of course, they'll be going against the Dirty Dogs of Dolph Ziggler and Robert Roode. And last but not least, we've got a Lumberjack match as well. Good to get a gimmick match in there, the Lumberjack. Good to see that back. Damian Priest will be taking on The Miz. And just to say, I've got my full predictions on the channel for you right now. If you haven't seen it, make sure to go and check it out. But let's talk about some of those matches while we wait for a few more questions to come in. Jonesy, what match are you most excited for this Sunday?
I'm really looking forward to the Roman Reigns Cesaro match. I think it's a dream match. I think Cesaro's been built up so well recently, following his recent kind of push. I really think it's going to be great. And I think this card is just such a stacked card. I'm really impressed with WWE, the way they built this card up. There's so many matches there that are money. Like the Bianca Belair Bayley match, that'll be credible. That'll be a great first title defense of Bianca Belair. I think the triple threat for the W Championship is also very exciting. I think there's a chaos element with the recent rebirth of Braun Strowman, his great work recently, particularly this past week on Monday Night Raw, where he did that fantastic power slam over the barrier. And I'm just really kind of looking forward to this. I think we're probably going to get another two matches that are added. And if any of them two matches are added, the ones I think, this is going to be even better this coming Sunday.
Yeah, absolutely, indeed. There, I can see definitely two more matches being added as well. I think one to the main card, one to the kickoff. Yeah, like you say, we discussed about this on your stream yesterday for the Raw review. The idea potentially of a fatal four-way for the Intercontinental Championship. Apollo perhaps defending his title against Sami Zayn, Kevin Owens, and Big E. If that match was to go down, do you think that could be arguably one of the best fatal four-ways in WWE history?
I think it'll be absolutely incredible. I think it's just going to be great. There's so many good elements to that match. I think the fact you're going to have Kevin Owens, Sami Zayn there, that's always fantastic. Their match at WrestleMania is phenomenal. I think it's going to be really, really good for me. I don't see it as a fatal four-way. I think it's going to be a singles match. I think it'll be Big E and Apollo. I think that's the way they're going. I don't know sort of if it'll be any better than WrestleMania, but even if we get that match, I think with Commander Aziz on the outside, you never know what's going to happen. I think this Big E Apollo thing, it's not really been clear who's got the one-upmanship so far, because the two matches they've had, it's been kind of a bit screwy so far, but I'm looking forward to seeing it. It's going to be a great Intercontinental Champion match if it happens.
Absolutely, yeah. Whether it's a singles match or a fatal four-way, definitely will be excited to see it. That's for sure. But we've got a couple more comments in here. Matt Sam saying Cesaro is quality, but just too soon to take the gold. Yeah, would you agree with that, Jonesy? I think so.
Yeah, I think he's been built really, really well, but I just don't think anybody's beating Roman Reigns at the moment. I think the Roman Reigns push, particularly with the new music and stuff, it's not ending this coming Sunday, but I'd be a fan of a no contest. I really want to see more of this. I think this shouldn't be just one match and done, really, the way they've started building it, particularly the Usos. Jimmy Uso returned this past week as well.
I was just going to say that with the Usos coming in, if this match wasn't the main event of the show, wouldn't it be interesting if the Usos were involved and used that storyline to conflict more? They can carry this over towards Money in the Bank. That certainly would be a good element, because Cesaro, he is having the year of his career right now, the year of his life. Cesaro has been electric since the start of the year, beating people like Daniel Bryan twice as well, Seth Rollins twice, including the match at WrestleMania, and the second one was to get him this opportunity here at the pay-per-view. If it was to have a false finish and to carry it to another month, Cesaro continues to hold that momentum as well for another further few weeks, and it kind of gets the audience more familiar with the idea of Cesaro being in that main event picture, because you don't want it to almost be one and done. The fact that he loses straight away and they go straight back to the mid card. Yes, Money in the Bank is around the corner. He probably would be involved in that sort of picture, but it'd be interesting to see how it would develop. Have you got anything more to add?
Yeah, I think the last one's going to have with it. I think for me, yeah, let's go for kind of a no contest. I think if Cesaro loses here, it's probably not going to be the best, but I think it would just be great, really. I can see this really is a good placeholder. I think the Money match, I think obviously from SmackDown last week, that's been apparent going forward, is going to be Roman Reigns, Seth Rollins. I think that's probably going to happen quite soon, probably around SummerSlam. So I think Roman's holding the belt for a while, definitely based on that.
Yeah, I would have to agree with you on that one there. And Martin Career with some more questions for us now. It says, what do you guys think will be the kickoff of the show, as well as the main event, and the one that we should be most looking forward to? So, yeah, I mean, the match that I think will kick off the show, that's interesting, really, because I think one of the triple threat matches probably will be the one, because you've got two of them on the card, currently only 6 matches. And if you do have another multi-person match added to the card as well, you're going to need to split them up. So I wouldn't be surprised if the Raw Women's Championship was to kick off the show. And I think it would be a good explosive way to do so as well, with Rhea Ripley, Asuka, and Charlotte Flair, all three extremely talented workers. What match would you like to see kick off the show?
I think it could be the men's WWE Championship, obviously based on WrestleMania Night 1, where we got Bobby and Drew the start of the show. Maybe it'll be that, but I just think they'll want to keep probably the Universal title and the WWE Championship kind of away from each other in sort of the order of the show and stuff. So I'd probably go for the men's, but the women's starting would be good as well. I think either one of them two matches would be a great way to start the pay-per-view.
Absolutely. So would that be in your favour then, as the main event being Roman Reigns versus Cesaro, in your opinion?
That's what I would do here. I think that's the strongest match going into this pay-per-view.
Yeah, it certainly has been, certainly storyline-wise as well. I just have this feeling that perhaps the Raw side may main event this pay-per-view, and I think that Roman Reigns Cesaro could be somewhere in the middle, if it was my personal opinion, because Roman Reigns, he has been main eventing a lot of pay-per-views, but Elimination Chamber, he did obviously come in with, after that Chamber match was the second match on the card, and Raw did get the focus at the end. So I think it also could depend if there's a title change from the Raw side, because if Lashley does lose the championship, not that I think people would necessarily be in favour of that. I think that would be a likely thing, they'd want to close the show with that rather than doing it in the opener. But match you're most looking forward to, Jonesy?
I think the match I'm most looking forward to ultimately is going to be I would say probably the Bianca Belair Bayley match. I think Bianca Belair Bayley, their feud they had previously last year, was so good. And I think from an in-ring perspective, it's going to be absolutely phenomenal. I think if they're given time, a good amount of time, this would be a really, really good match, even though I think Bianca probably is the favourite to win the match. I just think this is a real great opportunity to get Bayley back out there in front of fans, because obviously we didn't really get that at WrestleMania besides a cameo.
Yeah, absolutely. No, I do agree though. Bianca Belair and Bayley is a match I'm looking forward to. I think they should have carried that feud on after the Royal Rumble. It's good they're revisiting it here, and I think it makes Bianca Belair look so solid if she was to get a victory over the longest reigning SmackDown Women's Champion. It's a very smart, strategic first title defense. But for me, there's a number of matches I'm looking forward to. I think it's the triple threat matches for me that I'm most excited for. But Reigns versus Cesaro should be awesome as well. But to pick one, because I can't be greedy on these live streams apparently, so I'm going to go for the Raw Women's Championship. I'm most looking forward to, because I do feel that with Charlotte Flair added to the mix here with Rhea and Asuka, these are three very talented women. I think they're going to put on a heck of a match. But I do think the men's triple threat match as well, it could be like big beefy men doing big beefy things. It could be a reminder of like SummerSlam 2017 with that big fatal four-way, if they do things like they did at the end of Raw like this week with Braun Strowman power slamming Bobby Lashley, through the barricade. They do stuff like that. It's going to be a mega awesome match. But yeah, I mean, we can take your questions all through the show. So, you know, feel free to keep them coming in, and we will also give you a shout out as well. We did say what we think will be matches added this Sunday, but also we'd like to know what matches you would like to include this Sunday as well. Is there a match maybe for the Raw Tag Team titles, the Intercontinental Championship, the United States Championship? There's so many more matches we could see on the card. What feud for you would you think deserves to be on Backlash? But as well as that, also in the meantime, Jonesy, we can talk a little bit more about Backlash. What's your thoughts with this lumberjack match that's been added this week? Because Damian Priest versus The Miz, I'm pleased to see the lumberjack match involved. I'm not as excited for the match because I think I've seen Priest versus Miz far too many times, but I'm hoping it will be the last one this weekend. I hope that they will go into separate programs after this Sunday. What are your thoughts with them match? Are you excited for it?
Yeah, there's a lot of positives. So let's look at that list. I think this is a real good opportunity to get Damian Priest another big win over The Miz. I think this will get people on the people that may not get time on the pay-per-view a spot at the sort of the ringside. And for me, my pick of it, I think ultimately the way it's probably going to happen is we're probably going to get, obviously Damian Priest is winning. It wouldn't surprise me if John Morrison accidentally cost The Miz to further that storyline that's about to happen.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's Raw makes a tag team division. They start breaking teams up almost immediately, don't they? It seems to be quite fun to see. But we've got separate from Stamp Up Wrestling in the house. It says if Braun Strowman doesn't show up in denims, I'm cancelling my WWE network. That's a demand, WWE. Honestly, you don't want to see people cancelling WWE network. I don't like seeing that trend each and every month. So take the words as separate and make sure the denims are there. But yeah, I mean, what's your favorite Backlash of all time, Jonesy? Because there's been so many Backlashes. What one has been the one that stands out most for you?
Of all time, my kind of probably favorite one, I'd have to say probably would be, I'd probably go back to back to 2000 or 99. I think both of them were very iconic. I think looking at the sort of the way it is back then. So obviously when we had the Attitude Era and stuff like that, obviously Backlash 2000 for me is probably my favorite. I think the Rock and Triple H match is incredible. The Chris Benoit, Chris Jericho match is just great as well. And we've even got sort of Eddie Guerrero on there. You've got so many great wrestlers, but that's probably my all-time favorite one. I have to say sort of Backlash 2000 really. I think it's got great fond memories. It was just at the time when I was really starting to get into this new wave of kind of wrestling, if that makes sense, looking back at it.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, around the time as well in the year 2000 Backlash, it just was honestly so many great pay-per-views. I feel like the weakest pay-per-view of the whole of the year 2000 was actually WrestleMania. Every pay-per-view that was knocking out the park, and Backlash was no exception. An incredible main event as well with The Rock versus Triple H. That was an outstanding match indeed. I think for myself, it's hard to choose really. There's some that really do stand out, but I think I will go with 2007 because it just is a show for me that, weirdly enough, I know it has a couple of moments in it, like with Vince McMahon winning the ECW Championship that I was sort of not such much of a fan of, but at the same time, I really did enjoy the main event Fatal 4-Way. I think that's probably arguably the greatest Fatal 4-Way in WWE history. We mentioned Undertaker and Batista earlier in this, and I was a big fan of the Hardys versus Lance Cade and Trevor Murdoch. I liked Cade and Murdoch back in the day. It used to be one of my favorite Raw tag teams. So for that one, I think that would be my particular choice. But we've gone there for favorite ones there. Feel free to throw your favorites in the comment section. We'll give you a shout out as well. Also, favorite match in Backlash history. What would be your favorite match, Jonesy?
I think I'm probably going to have to go for the Fatal 4-Way, 2007 Backlash, John Cena, Randy Orton, Edge, Shawn Michaels, arguably the greatest Fatal 4-Way of all time. I think the amount of starred wrestlers in this match, for me, that's probably my favorite Backlash match of all time, I'd have to say.
Yeah, I mean, I must admit, it's definitely my favourite as well. But to give a different answer to you, because I don't want to give the same answer all the way through, I really enjoyed, as I said, the Last Man Standing match. But another one from another year, Randy Orton against Mick Foley in 2004, a brutal match at the time. And if I'm not mistaken, I believe Randy may have been Intercontinental Champion at the time. But seeing the thumbtacks come out was quite brutal as well. And it got Randy Orton to that next level. So, yeah, I'm quite a big fan of that one. We've got another question in from Slam Pump Wrestling. Thoughts on Hogan versus Triple H from 2000? 2002. Of course, for those that don't remember that, Triple H won the championship at WrestleMania 18, and then the following month dropped the championship to Hulk Hogan. Of course, was a part of the NWO, and he dropped to go back to the red and yellow, the babyface, because he was so over in that match versus The Rock. Jonesy, I mean, was you a fan at this time of Triple H dropping the belt to Hogan?
Yeah, I think looking back at it, obviously this was the time when Triple H was feuding with The Undertaker, and there was that finish where Undertaker hit Triple H with a chair. But it's definitely a big shot thinking Hulk Hogan in 2002 is beating Triple H. But let's look at this. This is the Hulk Hogan that led WCW back in the late 90s. So he wasn't that far out of being that Hulk Hogan. So yeah, I was kind of a fan of it. I think it's great nostalgia, really. I think Hulk Hogan's always been someone that stood the test of time, really, in terms of when he's come back, since when he's won the title and stuff.
Absolutely. I mean, that's the thing. It was pure nostalgia that was done at the time, because Hogan, he only had the belt for a few weeks, and then it went to The Undertaker at the following pay-per-view, which, if I'm not mistaken, was Judgment Day. And then, of course, they carried on the Undertaker Triple H feud. And like you say, I mean, it was nostalgia. I mean, the only problem for me was growing up, I wasn't the biggest Hogan fan. So I must admit, I did roll my eyes at the idea of this, because I felt that it was almost like WCW.
Sorry to interrupt you. Did you like his WCW work? Because that was like his best work ever, I think, when he turned heel back in '96. I thought it was such a breath of fresh air compared to what we were served years and years of him sort of against Yokozuna and all that other stuff in WWF.
Absolutely, yeah. No, I love these heel run in WCW. I do think sometimes, though, he literally he stole catchphrases from people, and I found that very annoying. The fact he was quoting the Macho Man on Nitro, like just doing the "ooh yeahs" all the time. It's like, that's Macho's thing. You don't need to do it. But clearly, he did that stuff for the heel heat, and it did work. I mean, I'm going through Nitro right now, and I do enjoy Hogan's work as a heel. I do think he's got a great way of getting crowd reactions, but I just found to myself with the nostalgic stuff and Hogan being the champion that late into the 90s. I wanted to see the nude guard push through. And I think people like Chris Benoit, DDP, those sort of people were pushing through. They did get championship reigns, but by the time WCW really took off, the people like Eddie Guerrero, Chris Jericho, they'd all jumped ship. They'd all moved over to WWE, and it was just too late. I mean, you had the likes of Booker T and Scott Steiner that were holding it towards the end there, and Jeff Jarrett as well, but it just felt it was too little too late, in my opinion. So looking at it, I mean, I can see the good side of Hogan winning the championship there, and it was only a short run as well, so it really was pure nostalgia. But for me as well, I wanted to see the new guard. I didn't want to see, at that time, WWE become like WCW and make the mistakes that WCW were making. And we fast forward that 20 years, and I think we've seen a lot of their mistakes made since. But, hey, we move on anyway to our next question, which is from Martin Carrillo. He says he doesn't hear a lot of people talking about this, but why does WWE settle their pay-per-view card 1 or 2 days, even 1 day before the show? He says 1 week, 2 days, or 1 day. I don't know. WWE just seems to change their plans all the time. I don't know. Sometimes it seems to be that last minute thing, oh, that's a good idea to add that into the kickoff or add that into the pay-per-view. Let's extend the pay-per-view by another 15, 20 minutes. I'm not sure. I think it seems that it shows a lack of organization. I don't know how you feel, Jonesy.
What a loaded question. Great question, Ryan. Definitely. Looking at it, I think the thing with it is clearly in the old days, they had everything statured, particularly the main stars. The top stars generally will have their match lined up a month in advance, obviously, for the pay-per-view. But the lower card stars, it's just made up as it goes along. But I think a lot of that, the answer to that one is Vince McMahon. Vince McMahon generally is turning up an hour before a show and he's ripping stuff up and saying that this is not what I want to do this. And it's very hard for them to get these long-term storylines out there, which is probably why. But it does make it kind of exciting as a fan, not knowing what's coming next. But it can be a bit disappointing if you're thinking you're going to see a certain match on the pay-per-view and then it gets pulled.
Yeah, absolutely. No, I agree. The thing is that Vince McMahon, he does make those decisions. Sometimes they're very last minute. It doesn't seem to be as attentive, maybe, as what we see with some other promotions. Even within NXT, things feel they're more further planned out in storyline. But would you say then that there needs to be that change of the guard? Vince has had his time. Is it time to really move things over for Triple H?
100% agree. Let's look at NXT compared to WWE. WWE has got some fantastic in-ring action. The in-ring action is phenomenal. Some of the top storylines are pretty good, but look at NXT. It's just so well organized. You've got so many people that could win that NXT title. The way they've done that storyline with Kevin Cross, his next challenger, as an example, it's done so well. But for me, I think Triple H should be taking over WWE now. Vince McMahon is stuck kind of in the past, and I think the problem is a lot of these kind of references that he has of pop culture and stuff, they're just so in the wrong place, which is unfortunate, really.
Yeah, unfortunately, and especially when he keep hearing the word drip every single week now, about 4 or 5 superstars doing it, it's certainly a bit much there. But Sam Hubbard back there, and it says that it looks like WWE has already watered down Rhea Ripley, or she hasn't recovered from the WrestleMania 36 loss to Charlotte Flair. Is it a bit of both?
I agree. I think that's a great statement, great question. I'd say let's look at it like this. So obviously Rhea Ripley, ever since she's come up from sort of her Royal Rumble appearance this year, she went missing for a while, and there wasn't that real time to build her up as a contender. The minute that Charlotte went missing at WrestleMania, she got the WrestleMania shot. That was thrown together. She's won the belt. I think the thing with Rhea Ripley, she seems to lack confidence this time. She's not really as confident as she was in NXT. The fact she's reading off cue cards and stuff like that, I think she's always been quite good on a promo, so I don't get why they're not letting her be who she could be. But I think the problem with it's just the misbooking of her being a tweener. 1 minute she's a babyface, next minute she's a heel, and it doesn't really help her, although I think her rim work is really, really good.
Yeah, I would agree. Her ring work is absolutely superb. But like you say there, I mean, WWE just doesn't let her just do what she does best. And it feels that Rhea is a perfect babyface. And yet we seem to get this sort of heel character that's coming there that's almost not even the heel that we could expect from Rhea Ripley, the stuff that we got in NXT UK when she was there. It seems like Slam have said this watered down version, and it's unfortunate because Rhea could be and should be the top star.
It should be the Rhea Ripley we saw the Royal Rumble that was in the final two of Bianca Belair. That's what we should be seeing, in my opinion.
Absolutely. I couldn't agree with it. You couldn't have said it better myself there. But that loss to Charlotte Flair, I agree. Rhea Ripley probably doesn't recover until she gets that win over Charlotte Flair. And perhaps maybe she gets the pinfall over Charlotte this Sunday. Maybe it could be a situation where, it goes over to a following pay-per-view. It'll be interesting to see how it is going to play out. Martin Carrero is there and says, where has NXT call-ups have had a bit more of a big impact and a big deal in Raw and SmackDown in recent memory? We haven't really seen as many of these big impact from Raw on Raw and SmackDown from NXT as of late. It just feels like that people come up, they've got these plans for a few weeks, and then they kind of get lost in the shuffle. It's great to see Damian Priest have this big sort of plan there with Bad Bunny going into WrestleMania, but it's all what they do now after it. It's great having that WrestleMania moment, but if you continue and just have them doing the same thing for like weeks and weeks and months, people will quickly get tired of it, and all that momentum you built up with Damian Priest, he's going to lose it, and then he'll fall down the pecking order. He'll be in catering by the end of 2021, which we don't want to see. Who would you say recently, in your opinion, Jonesy, has been a great NXT call-up to the main roster?
I can't say recently, unfortunately. I would like to have said Keith Lee. I can't say that. Andrade, I can't say. Aleister Black, I can't say. Who I can say, though, I think the greatest examples are women. Sasha Banks and Bianca Belair. They've been really good. Bianca Belair probably is the one, actually, to be fair. She's gone on and done decent stuff. But the transition from NXT to the main roster, I just think it's a real shame because this feeder elementary territory that NXT is, I think they've got such a great opportunity to get these people that everyone knows already on TV in this prime time airing to just be able to see sort of there and do stuff. That makes sense. I think it's a great opportunity in NXT really to bring people up. In terms of people I think that will do it, I think the next big one that's going to do something is Karrion Kross for me. He's got the look, he's got the sort of gimmick. I think the intro is fantastic. In ring, he's a bit raw, which I think is quite good. And I think Vince McMahon always likes the bigger than life character. This guy, I think when he comes up, I think I'll put it out there. I think he's going to be bigger than Keith Lee. It's pretty obvious to me really now saying that.
No, I think that Karrion Kross has got a very bright future in WWE. I can see him as a future main eventer, definitely in the scene there. Like you say, he's got the look, he's got something about him that's just really, really special. To answer the question there from Martin Carrera, I think the one I could say best in recent times, especially in the men's division, probably would be Riddle, because the way he was brought up with that win over AJ Styles on SmackDown last year, that was fantastic. I like the way that was done. It's gone a bit up and down since with Riddle, but I'm enjoying the work with RK Bro. I think that's a lot of fun. Are you surprised RK Bro have not been added to Backlash?
Yeah, I'm surprised. I'm very surprised that they haven't done that. Maybe it's too kind of new to be added, but there's a lot of elements on this Backlash card that are missing. We've got no Alexa Bliss. She's not on the card. We've got no, obviously, Seth Rollins. He's not on the card yet at the moment as well. But I am very surprised. Maybe they will be added. It's one of them things we could get a social message on the day of the show via Twitter that says that this match is added. If you were going to put them on the show, Steve, who would you have them face?
Oh, that's a very good question, because, they've done Elias and Riker now for weeks upon end. I'd have the New Day, personally, because I think it's too soon to go for the tag titles after that RKO to both members of the New Day on Raw. It's something to do that. And also it puts Riddle in a very interesting position as well, because Riddle is the babyface, friends with them, doing goofy antics backstage every week. That could be an interesting twist. Yeah,
I agree. I can't think of anybody better. I think the New Day would be a great shout. Definitely better than Elias and Jackson Riker, that's for sure.
Absolutely, indeed. Well, Slam Hub Wrestling is back on here with us now. Which match feud needs the WWE Championship? McIntyre versus Mahal or Lashley versus Lesnar? Lashley versus Lesnar for me all day long is the one I'd pick of the two there. I want McIntyre versus Mahal, but I want it not for the WWE Championship. I want to see a feud that could really elevate Jinder Mahal into the position to go for the title again. I think McIntyre is the perfect platform for that. The reason I don't want them two going for it is Drew McIntyre, because McIntyre, in my opinion, has been in and around the WWE Championship for far too long. I think he needs a break from it for at least 3 to 6 months before he can go back into the picture after this Sunday, in my personal opinion. Jonesy, how do you feel?
Lashley versus Lesnar. It's the WrestleMania match that should have been this year, really. I think as soon as they do it, it's one of them where they've got to do it. It'll be a first-time match. I think if Bobby's on the form he is at the moment, winning every single week, not losing matches, Lesnar, obviously, the big comeback for me. I think that's the match you've got to do, really. I'll put it out there to you, Steve. Who do you think's winning the match if it happens?
Oh, I think Lashley would have to beat Brock Lesnar, in my opinion. Looking at it, I think so because Lashley's the one that's around.
Yeah, I agree. You make some great points. He's there all year round, but it just depends if Brock's willing to come in and put Lashley over, really. But I really hope this match happens. I can probably see it maybe somewhere down the line. For me, I think the money match, where they're going to be building probably ultimately next year at WrestleMania, we are potentially going to have 80,000 fans at the TNT Stadium. So they've either got to get Rock and sort of Roman, or they've got to get Brock and Roman. It's one of them two matches they've got to do, really, in my opinion. But if they can't get, if they're going to get Rock and Roman, then maybe the Bobby and Lesnar match should be there, really. It's one of the matches. Let's save it for WrestleMania. Let's not just have it on a sort of Backlash pay-per-view, really.
No, I would agree with that entirely. And yeah, be interesting to see what direction they'll go. And Lesnar versus Roman would be interesting as well. Like you say, with Paul Heyman in the mix there. I want my manager back. Where's my advocate? Do you know what I mean? That could be quite interesting to see. Martin Carrillo here, he's heard someone say that Triple H is simply not the right person to bring in talent for Vince. That's why the call-ups lack. Could it be true? I wonder, Jonesy, what's your take on that?
Great point. But no, for me, no, I don't think so. I would say it like this. Let's look at it like this. The call-ups have only really stopped since COVID. Before that, everybody after WrestleMania would come up. There'd always be the call-ups after WrestleMania. You'd get this sort of cameo night after Mania. But it's only really since the last year where that's kind of stopped, I think. For me, Triple H is the right person. He's turned NXT from like a house show promotion really into mainstream television. And I think the way they've built it, and I think the storylines that him and probably Shawn Michaels are writing every single week, some of the best television in WWE at the moment, in my opinion.
Yeah, I would agree. NXT is always a very solid show in each every week. It's just whether Vince sees what actually Triple H sees in that talent, because it seems to be that Vince will change his mind after he's called them up after a few weeks. But we have to look at the whole roster pretty much has come from NXT at some point. So some are going to be main eventers, some are going to be mid-carders, some unfortunately just aren't going to make the cut. And unfortunately, us as fans, we don't always seem to agree with some of those decisions that are made. I know that you're a big fan of Ricochet in particular, aren't you, Jonesy?
Yeah, massive fan of Ricochet. I think looking at his work, if we saw his work in Ring of Honor and Lucha Underground especially, like he was so good in Lucha Underground. I think it's one of them things where this guy's got all the flips of Reginald, but he can actually wrestle. That's the way I kind of look at it. I think it's just one of them things. I think he's just too small. I think size really kind of matters in WWE. If he was built like Karrion Kross or Damian Priest, then maybe he would be sort of on the show every week. But because he's the size he is as a cruiserweight, I think it's one of them things why he's looked down on. Why do you think it hasn't kind of worked for Ricochet and WWE so far, would you say?
It's interesting because it felt like he was doing really, really well up until the point he had the match with Lesnar. And then all of a sudden, Vince just kind of went, this isn't the guy. And then he got buried in like a minute 45. And I mean, Ricochet should be so proud of that match because he got himself into a championship match on a pay-per-view against Brock Lesnar. It's an incredible achievement to be in that sort of environment. But since then, it's just not gone right for Ricochet. And I think he needs the reset button somewhere. He needs to be brought in. But it seems to me with news that's going around today, which I saw on Wrestle Talk, they were talking about the idea of some superstars, they're not being buried. They're pushing other talents at some point and taking some off TV. Jeff Hardy is one of them that's not being buried. He's got a contract for a long time. He's not going anywhere in the meantime. They're holding off until fans can come back so we can bring back his old theme song, the No More Words theme song, which is absolutely a phenomenal theme song, by the way. And probably the push will probably come with it. So we just got to wait until fans come back, and then perhaps there'll be that moment and that placement for Jeff Hardy to get that push again.
I hope so. It'd be great to see him do stuff. This guy's a legend, former three-time champion. As I said on Raw this week. I think he's still a great icon. The fact he's putting people over every single week, it's great to see him out there. It's part of my childhood, it's part of the Attitude Era. So it's great to see him still out there wrestling.
Absolutely, indeed. There, we've got Stamp Up Wrestling here. It says that when should Roman drop the Universal Championship and to whom? Well, we've both agreed it won't be a Backlash against Cesaro. So, Jonesy, who are you feeling?
Yeah, I'm going to play on the light of a draft, but I'm going to pretend there's a draft. So say there is a draft this coming year to trade wrestlers. The only person I think Roman will drop the belt to if it happens is probably Drew McIntyre. I think Drew McIntyre really needs to do this redemption storyline, as you've said before. I think for me, Drew at one point was the most over wrestler in WWE, one of the most overs. He carried the brand last year throughout the really dark times we've had no fans and stuff. So for me, I think Drew's built up. He's the one. But logically, I think if someone on the SmackDown side, the only two people probably that have got a chance will be Big E if he wins Money in the Bank, or Seth Rollins. That's kind of the thing. But this has to be a Seth that's back to where he was originally, because this guy, obviously, through his various incarnations of gimmicks and stuff, he's always been great in ring, but the gimmicks haven't kind of helped him a little bit. I don't know what your thoughts are of that and the question, Steve.
It's fantastic. Some of the answers you gave there, and Seth Rollins, like you said, there would be a great shout. And sometimes the gimmicks have perhaps let him down just a little bit. Maybe it's just he's had the wrong match at the wrong time. Fans have turned on him. I mean, the Fiend, Hell in a Cell 2019, need we say more? But yeah, Big E's a great shout. I really agree with the Drew McIntyre one. I think that's the right place for that. For me, is WrestleMania 38. So we have a long time of Roman as champion. I do want to see the idea of Roman, though, actually losing the championship and almost sulking as the tribal chief, head of the table, without the belt, and what that would look like in the storyline. Because I think it would be fascinating to watch. So in some ways, I'd like to see that sooner rather than later. But if I had to pick, it's not this Sunday. It's sadly not Cesaro. It will be, for me, at WrestleMania 38. But Marta Guerrero, we'll take a couple more questions and then we'll be coming off the stream. Marta Guerrero actually says here, do you think that the reason being guys like Ricochet or Murphy not being on TV or even getting a push is to do with them having no character development? Very interesting. Well, Ricochet, probably not the strongest on the mic. Murphy didn't do too bad on 205 Live from what I remember back in the day, but perhaps there's just something about Murphy that's just not connecting. I'm not quite sure.
Yeah, I think the thing with it, as you said, Ricochet's never been a great talker. I think always his in-ring actions kind of done that. But in terms of Murphy, his work with the Mysterios with Aaliyah, that kind of storyline was really, really good. He showed some good charisma there. I just think it's generally the changing of guard, really. WWE continue to change their mind, but both these two are talented. I think the thing with Murphy, I think this guy just needs to do his own thing, really. Obviously, he's always been under the disciple of somebody. Like, he was under Seth, if that makes sense, which didn't really help him. But he's just in the wrong place, I think, unfortunately. He just doesn't really sort of have that chance to break out and be his own character.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, at the time, I thought it really, really worked because it got him on TV, got him a good position on the card. But when they broke up with him and Seth, I felt from that point onwards, it's like, right, okay, now we need to take him to that next level. But it's just sadly not happened. He had that story that was going on with Aaliyah Mysterio and the Mysterios that got dropped as well. So we've just not seen him since. I mean, he's come on one or two losing efforts on SmackDown, but it's not quite been enough to see more. But hopefully, fingers crossed, he will make a return on TV at some point. These two, they could have good characters if WWE were to perhaps put a bit of faith maybe in them. I don't know. Tom Callow, thanks for checking out the stream, Tom. He says that Seth seems an obvious choice, but he doesn't think Roman will lose it for a while, but he'd rather see him lose it to a surprise, to a lesser name, such as Nakamura or Sami Zayn. Now, how awesome would that be? What are your thoughts on Nakamura and Sami Zayn? Do you think they could be good contenders in the future if they were booked right?
Definitely. I think they're both fantastic wrestlers. I think they've both got that fantastic talent. Do we see the unthinkable, maybe somebody cashing in on Roman Reigns with the Money in the Bank? Is that the way to get the belt off him? I originally thought the only way we were going to get him dropping the belt would have been in like a triple threat match where he doesn't have to get pinned. But would you be a fan of somebody winning the Money in the Bank this year, such as a Nakamura or Sami Zayn, and then doing that cash in? I would be, definitely.
I would pop big time for it because, of course, I mean, like we said, it would be an element of a surprise. We don't see Roman losing that championship any other way. So, yeah, Money in the Bank would be a great way to do it. Nakamura and Zayn, SmackDown seems to have a great side for Money in the Bank this year. About 3 or 4 up-and-coming stars could really, take the pinnacle, if you want, not to quote MJF here at all. But, looking at with things here, I would like to see it. I think Sami Zayn, particularly for me, of the two, I'd be more keen on seeing because I think Zayn, particularly with this conspiracy theory character with Money in the Bank, would be absolutely fascinating to watch in that sort of way. But yeah, if anyone was to cash in on Roman, whether it was Nakamura or Zayn, I think it'd be awesome to see. So no, would be completely down for that. But that's all the questions that we've got in. So I think at that point, Jones, I think we will call off the stream here. But before we go today, I'd like to plug your channel if you don't mind.
Thank you very much, Steve. It's great for you to let me plug it. Thank you. So my channel is Jonesy Chats Wrestling, just on YouTube. What I cover Raw, SmackDown. We do Raw reviews. You're on the channel as well, Steve, which is great. It was great to hear your opinion. I also do topical videos. I've got a video up, top 5 things that need to happen in wrestling today. That could be worth a watch, definitely. Just any help I get in terms of people subbing and any thumbs up to my channel really, really help. I'm quite new to YouTube, still growing, on the road to 140 subs. So any help's appreciated.
Yeah, absolutely, indeed. Let's get Jonesy to that milestone. And just as I said, we're going to close off. 4 comments have come flying in, Jonesy. So let's skate through those ones before we do come off the stream today. Gary Parkin saying Sasha Banks is the best and should win Money in the Bank. Would you be a fan of that?
Yeah, definitely. I think it'd be a great way for her to get the belt back off Bianca Belair. It's a great storyline. So yeah, I'd definitely be a fan of it. I don't think she needs it, but I think I would definitely be a fan of that.
Yeah, I mean, I would be a fan of it, but I personally hope actually we get Sasha Banks versus Bianca Belair in a 30-man Ironman match, almost like Sasha Banks and Bayley did at TakeOver Respect. I think it was back in 2015, if I'm not mistaken. Eric Travis says, sup, SCW and Jonesy, and it says, "Dang, we finished." Well, Eric, get a question in quickly. We'll get one more for you if you've got time to throw one in for us.
I've got one for
Martin,
you, Steve. Sorry to interrupt you. Just regarding that Sasha Banks thing, if I was booking it, what I would do is on this coming Sunday's pay-per-view with the Bianca Belair match as well, with Bianca Belair and Bayley, I would have that match go to a no contest. Sasha interferes. We can then get a triple threat of Money in the Bank. That way, you're then delaying this singles rematch, which I think that's the money match of the division, isn't it, at the moment? Sorry to interrupt you.
Absolutely. No, do you know, it's a great suggestion. I'm pleased you interrupted me with that. I love that idea. I think it'd be awesome. I originally said in my old WrestleMania predictions that I'd do a triple threat match for that. And like you say, it's great of delaying because it keeps Bayley in the spotlight, doesn't put her straight back into the mid-card, miss-shuffle, and then we see where we go from there. But of course, with those two, it would be great to see eventually getting that big money match between Bianca and Sasha, save it for the biggest stage possible. Martin Carrillo just says, any guesses on Lily's height now that she's showed up physically? I'd hate to have a guess.
I think she's the same height as Al Snow's head probably, but yeah, I don't even know, to be fair. What, 1 foot maybe? I don't know. It's the thing.
Well, maybe one foot in front of the other.
But 1 foot's quite in it. So.
It's quite indeed.
It's very good, that's for sure.
Always fun and entertaining stream, and says thanks for all. That's all for him. Well, Martin, thank you for checking out as always. Really do appreciate it. And last question here today from Eric Chavez there says, what do we think is going to happen on AEW tonight? He thinks that Miro is going to beat Darby and Lance could turn heel on Sting and help Miro. And that would be a very interesting twist. What are your thoughts then with Miro and Darby Allin tonight?
I think Miro's got to win. This is the rebirth of Miro. This is the one chance, really. He's done some great work since sort of he attacked Kip Sabian. So for me, Miro has to win this. I think Darby Allin's going to risk his body crazily again, as always. It wouldn't surprise me if he goes through like 2 tables or something crazy.
Yeah, absolutely. I think Miro will win the championship, but sadly, I would love to see Sting versus Lance Archer somewhere down the line. I think that turn will happen. I think it will be a bit extended. I can see Sting and Darby Allin against Ethan Page and Scorpio Sky at the upcoming Double or Nothing show. And then one more last question because he's first finally come into the stream. It says, do you think people like WWE need to change their character? Jonesy, who would you like to see on NXT on the main roster?
I think for me, the one I'd love to see from NXT in the main roster, they've got to go Adam Cole. Adam Cole's so good in the ring. He's not quite got the height that they want on the main roster, but this guy is such a technical wrestler. I would say he's a modern day version of Shawn Michaels. I think for me, he's got so many characteristics. He's great on the mic. He's very good at selling. And I just think he'd be really good on the main roster. I'm really surprised that the UE and him never ended up on the main roster, in all honesty.
Yeah, I would like to see the UB actually on the main roster as a group. Seeing them individually, I think they could get lost in the shuffle. Karrion Kross, we mentioned earlier, I think would be a great shout. Io Shirai would be another one that I think would do well on the SmackDown side. I'm not sure how it would fare on Raw. There's so many women over there right now. Yeah, I mean, apart from that, I think one outside Santos Escobar, I think would be amazing. He can speak such good English as well. Great Latin star. I think that would be great for the Hispanic market personally. And go on, we will do one final one. This genuinely is the last one. So thank you everyone so much for your questions. I really do appreciate it. And of course, SCW will be live once again next week. But of course, we'll be live before that for SCW Rewind on Saturday. That will be taking place. SCW Rewind, it'll be Backlash 2016, the live stream. That'll be 4:30 UK time. That'll be taking place. So that'll be 11:30 Eastern in America. Jeff Samuel says, how do you feel about Keith Lee's scared tweet on Twitter? And does he return at Backlash and turn heel, or does he face Roman, beat Cesaro? I can't really read this last bit. Sorry about this. Let's take it question by question very quickly. Keith Lee's Twitter, he did actually say there that it was a big day for him today, and we'll see what it's going to lead to. Does he come back at Backlash, in your opinion, or do they hold off a bit longer?
They hold it a bit longer. I think for me, he's still trying to be cleared, apparently, even though Dave Meltzer yesterday said that he's ready to go. For me, I don't think they're going to chuck him in a world title feud. I think for me, they want him to prove himself so he can do multiple matches, I think, so he's ready for a title shot. But for me, hopefully he comes back soon. I'd love to see his music hit, but I just don't think it's going to happen, unfortunately, at Backlash WrestleMania. No,
I have to agree. It would be great to see if the music was to hit for you there. But yes, just very quick then before we go, Randy Sam says
that's a perfect question to hit.
Yeah, coming to SmackDown, does she get repackaged? I think she does. I think she goes back to being Mia Yim.
Yeah, I've got an update with that, so I'll give you that now. So Mia Yim,
awesome.
We believe she's coming in as Mia Yim. Her first feud is Carmella. That's going to start this week on SmackDown, so that's out there now. So based on that, Mia Yim's coming in as a babyface. She won't be reckoning. She can't be built as reckoning as a babyface, so definitely it'll be Mia Yim, which is fantastic. It's great to see Carmella get some time on TV as well. She's been missing for a while.
Yeah, she has been. She got the win over Ruby Riott last week, so it'd be good to see a good mid-card feud for SmackDown. And last one then for us. This January is the last one. We're going off straight after this one. They were asking about Impact this week. Under Siege is taking place. Who is going to face Josh Alexander for the X Division Championship? He hopes Ace Austin. I do as well. I think these two have fantastic chemistry in the ring. I think it'd be an amazing match to see. Is this a match you want to see, or do you see somebody else actually taking the spot?
I've got to confess, I haven't been watching Impact Wrestling. I've really got to be honest with you, but I know Ace Austin's a good wrestler. So if you say Ace Austin, I'll agree with you. I trust your judgment in this question. Sorry to be such a poor answer.
No, that's not at all. We don't all watch Impact, and I do say that I think Ace Austin would be good. I think El Fantasma from New Japan as well is coming for the meantime, so they could actually include that match as well. But that's all from SCW Live this week. Thank you for watching. As always, great to have your questions and answers. Thank you for everyone that's been checking out the stream. Just to let you know, WrestleMania Backlash is this Sunday. The predictions are on the channel for you right now, so go and make sure to go and check those out straight at the end of this video. And as well as that SCW Rewind Backlash 2016, the live stream will be on Saturday, 4:30, easy for me to say, UK time. And of course, it will be on for 11:30 a.m. Eastern time for those in America. But that's all from us anyway. Thank you for watching. Take care. Have yourselves a great day. You've been watching SCW here on YouTube. And thanks to everyone that's been actually saying some kind words in the comments as well to close off there. Randy Sam and Jeff Samuel in particular there, leaving some very kind comments there. But thank you very much. Like, share, subscribe, leave a comment in the comments below. We'll see you next time here on SCW.